What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about Starsiege Deadzone. It's an extraction looter shooter set in space. No, not that one. This one released about a week ago and I have just a few hours in it, but I think I'm in a good spot to kind of give you guys a rundown on what the game's about, whether you should waste hard drive space downloading it, and even maybe waste internet downloading it. It is a free-to-play game, but that's not always a good thing, so let's go and let's run this down. So first off, let's talk about the game itself. If you've played Dark and Darker, you pretty much understand the game loop. We spawn in with a chest. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't fight because I have to leave the light on for you guys. You spawn into a randomized map that is comprised of corridors and rooms. Your job is to find loot and get out. Just like Dark and Darker, the only way to extract is via randomly spawning portals. Except in Starsiege, they are escape pods. Keep in mind, there are only enough escape pods for half the players in the match. In order to encourage players to move to the center of the map, a collapsing force field slowly consumes the ship from the outside in. This is actually one of the coolest parts of the game, but more on that later. Much like any extraction looter shooter, you set your loadout and consumables before jumping in, and if you die in a match, you lose it all. Well, minus whatever you may have stowed inside your prison pod, I mean secure container. The gear is made up of your generic gun types, pistols for starters, accompanied by auto rifles, shotguns, snipers, LMGs, and submachine guns. You also need to equip consumables such as ammo, meds, shields, and throwables, should you wish to risk any. Where Starsiege differs, however, from other games in the genre is the armor and what that armor does to your character. For one, you do get to equip armor and upgrade it. However, you don't lose armor when you die in a match. Armor items have randomly generated stats that add to a skill tree. Depending on your armor, you can gain some pretty powerful advantages over other players. As an example, one skill tree lets you unlock loot crates faster, another one gains your additional health. There's even a skill that lets you remain undetected when another player uses an ability that lets them see players through walls. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The game also gives you abilities. These range from allowing you to see other players through walls for a few seconds to allowing you to teleport forward to another section of the map. You can even summon walking decoys that can fool enemies into thinking you've moved. The abilities are cool, and I do think they add some fun gameplay mechanics to the game. But before I get into the negative stuff, there is a little bit of that, I do want to mention some of the good stuff, because the game does have some good moments that I think deserve mentioning. One, you can shoot out lights. I know this might seem kinda like a non-mentionable, but it really is pretty cool. You can essentially make dark spots in rooms that you can use for cover. Players are given a flashlight that they can turn on and off, but using it to see players in the dark can also give away your position. Second, remember how I said the map collapses in on itself from the inside out? Yeah, like it really does, and it looks so cool. The whole game is set on different spaceships. You have cargo, luxury, military, and derelict ships as different themes. They all differ in types of rooms and how the areas are decorated. However, one thing remains the same. All these ships are falling apart and you got to move to get out. When you find yourself in a room that is partially collapsing, you can literally see the room falling apart. And you can see out into space. It's pretty dope. And even the intense, sharp lighting in these areas reflect the dangerous gravity of the situation. Third, the matches are short. Like, really short. You can jump in, fight a few players, loot a few rooms, extract, and be back in another game within half an hour. This makes dying feel less of a chore. The game is already pretty generous when it comes to progression and XP, but because the matches never feel like you're committed to a long 45-minute shoreline run only to die to a bush, it makes it easier to bounce back from a death. Oddly specific, I know. Fourth and final mention is that the progression honestly feels pretty streamlined. I'm at level 15 right now, and I haven't felt like it's been a grind. At least not yet. The game keeps bringing me back. The quests feel doable, and whenever I complete a few of them at once, I feel like the XP gained matches the effort. Now, for the bad stuff. For starters, my top complaint comes down to cosmetics and the overall style of the character and gun models. They look cheap. Some gun models stand out as potential outliers to this, but in general, the entire art direction of the models are just poor. The characters look like straight up Walmart versions of Master Chief. The skins you can buy in the store with real money look like they jumped straight out of a bad mobile game. Look, I get it, it's an early access game, but I'm really just comparing the game against itself. The environments look pretty damn good. But then you look at a discount Master Chief holding a generic looking pistol and it's just, yeah, no, it just ain't it. Editor Rhodes here, I have to chime in real quick. As of the moment I'm making this video, I'm unsure how you purchase these skins. They require tokens, but it seems the only way to get skins is completing the season or buying a Founders Edition. I don't see a way to buy individual tokens, so I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, back to voiceover Rhodes. Second, item and looting variety isn't there. Not yet, at least. You really only loot from two different style of containers. Large rectangular ones and small rounded ones. The large ones come in different rarity drops, but aside from color, they visually remain largely the same across the game. The small rounded ones spawn when you kill AI or players. AI will spawn random world loot, while player containers drop any loot they had plus gear and a dog tag. So keep in mind that you won't be finding loose items or the ability to loot anything but these containers. As far as items in these containers, you can expect to get crafting items, sellable items, throwables, ammo, and or guns. You won't be finding, not from what I've seen, any armor or attachments. As of yet, the game has no attachments or any way to improve, upgrade an existing weapon. Which brings me to my third and final point. I'm going to conflate 2 points to one since they go hand in hand. The gear is tiered, and I'm just not sure how sustainable this model is when it comes to extract looter shooters. Similar to the Cycle Frontier, the gear in Starsiege is characterized by tiers: common, uncommon, rare, etc. Depending on the gear level, you should expect to deal and take more damage. What happens is, this causes two things. One, the time to kill in the game is pretty high. Expect to mag dump a few times before knocking a player down. Two, if your gear isn't up to spec with opposing players, you will have, expectedly, a way harder time winning engagements. Now, in the dev team's defense, they did manage to create a workaround. An MMR system that only matches players with other players in the same level tier. From the top of my head, it's something like levels 1 through 9 get matched together, 10 through 19, etc. So in theory, that should work. Two things. One, when you jump from one tier to another, let's say you're 11, you'll be matched against levels 17, 18, and 19 players. These players will have better gear. Bringing it back to the relatively fair progression system, you shouldn't have too much of an issue getting up to the level ladder, even if you lose every game. But for those PvP gamers, expect an ego hit for a few of them. And two, what exactly happens if the player base shrinks? As is, I think the game is only registering like 2,000 people at any given moment. Not necessarily a large number of players at all, really. So would they start mixing tiers to get players to matchmake in with a potential PvP encounter, or would they decide to just have players jump into empty matches until they get to a tier level that has other players? I really don't know what they plan on doing, and if you ask me, I think the latter option is the better one. I think lower levels are better off facing a few empty matches to get their space legs moving than to toss them into a higher tier match, which would ultimately result in a very disappointing PvP encounter. So, should you waste your time downloading and giving it a shot? If you don't mind the cheap character gun models and you don't really care about the longevity of the game, whether it has a future or not, and just want to mess around, go for it. I think the game has some really unique features that make it stand out enough for me to keep wanting to go back and play just a few more matches. However, if you're expecting a polished, fully fledged out looter shooter, you will be disappointed. Either way, if you aren't either one of those and just want to give it a shot, it's free to play on Steam. If you have tried it, what do you think? Do you think there's a future? What should the devs do to make the game more attractive to players who may not yet want to invest time in it? As always, if you stuck around this long, consider giving the video a like and drop the channel a sub if you want more content like this, where I play a game and give you a general consensus on what I think. I hope to catch you on the next one.